Well, hello, it's Monday. We're back here, Monday Market 15, the 15-minute show. It takes, God, I don't know anymore. More than 30 minutes, apparently. Rob Morales, RCO Network, coming at you here live at Studio 110, Phoenix, Arizona, with my co-host, fresh off the wedding wagon, the Miller time herself, this
Yes.
Ashley Miller.
Hello, everyone. Sorry I missed last week. I was busy getting married.
Yeah, you were, like I said, fresh off the wedding train. You felt a little Tupac today, so you got your Tupac.
I'm a little gangster and a little classy all at the same time.
She's got her Tupac Marilyn Man.
Not Manson. Oh, jeez. I'm not that crazy.
A Marilyn Monroe shirt. I messed up.
I do.
It's Monday.
I'm a little gangster and a little classy all at the same time.
So how are you? How was your weekend? Everything else?
Oh, it's been, I suggest anybody who plans on getting married, just elope.
As if you've ever been married before in a big extravagant wedding, like a couple of us here, maybe recently, maybe really recently.
You just did it too.
You might want to question how much money it is and how much time. Those weddings you see like on Instagram.
Not real.
I would say unless you have a ton of discretionary money just to spend inordinately and not really get anything from other than a good time, why not a wedding? Get married.
Yeah, we definitely had an Instagram wedding for sure. But, if you guys know me, I'm a couponer, very conservative person.
Except you bought all the furniture.
No, most of it was for free.
Oh, was? Oh.
Yeah, we got a lot of it for free. So it was really super cool. However, I'm thinking about investing in properties, right? Because that's what we do. And I'm thinking, okay, 5, 10, 1,000, 12,000. What could we have done? And you just experienced this. Like, what could we have done with that money?
Down payment on a house? I think we spent nearly...
I don't know if that's called a down payment on a house these days, but it could have gone towards some investments for sure, which brings us into our topic of saving a little bit of money where you can. And for sale by owners is kind of our topic today.
Yeah,
it is.
I came across a situation this last week on Friday. I went to an open house, just thinking it was a regular open house, but it was actually an open house for sale by owner. And the person that was there, I thought was an agent because he's coming in showing everybody, the home and how everything was so extravagant, what they did with the home. It is in Ahwatukee. I'll give you some details, but I won't tell you the specifics because I don't want that person to get mad or whatever. They're already mad, and I'll show you that in a second. But we came across a FSBO situation, and we were excited. They didn't have any offers. The house was on market for 3 weeks. I will say in this market, if a house is on market for more than just a couple days, there is something wrong, right?
But that particular property happened to be listed on the MLS for a short period of time, or for a. This
was at the time we went there officially, because I have the print on here. 21 days. It was 21 days on market.
But by themselves?
Correct.
So how did they get the MLS listing?
So they did extend out to a flat fee company. There are brokerages out there that you can pay a flat fee just to put it on the MLS. And then I don't know how they instruct you or what they do. They just say, hey, we're going to put it on the main system that all us agents use. And that will get, some traffic, and you can manage your house however you want to sell it.
So managing a property, I want to go through, I've made a very long list.
She's got a list.
So when you manage your property, I love, don't get me wrong, and I love Robert, but a for sale by owner flat fee, it can be advantageous depending on your circumstances.
Well, I mean, you're saving 6% if you're doing it yourself, 6% of any kind of listing. And that's I wouldn't say normal, but that's. So
6% because you also don't have to pay the buyer's agent as well?
Correct.
Okay, so 6%.
So it's a total of 6%. It's kind of like the thing that comes up. I mince on words because you're not supposed to say this is the normal percentage.
There's no norm.
There's
no norm.
It's all negotiated. So there are agents that will do more, and there are. I one time saw an agent charge 13% to somebody that really didn't know better.
Well,
which was a shame.
When you say 6%, so if they're paying that flat fee, quote unquote, and they're doing a for sale by owner, but they're paying a flat fee to a brokerage or agent to post it on MLS, which only agents and brokers have access to. Does that agent eat the other 3% of the buyer's agent? Like, what's the negotiation there? Because this is where I'm finding myself confused.
So whatever you negotiate with your agent, and this is if you're selling a home, whatever you negotiate with your agent is the listing fee. And the listing agent determines how much they're going to give to another buyer's agent. So that could be split in half. That could be a dollar figure. You commonly see dollar figures for rentals. Sometimes you can list a house on a rental for 3% and then give the agent like $300, which I see a lot of, like $200. But that's really negotiated by the listing agent. Seller, all they care about at the end of the day is how much am I paying these people, agents? How much am I paying these people to sell my house?
So the flat fee agent, hypothetically, and I'm not against it or for it by any means. I'm a neutral party. Are they going to be the ones who negotiate the pricing? Are they going to be the ones who write the contract? Are they going to be the ones when you might accidentally get sued? Oops. Are they responsible for that? Or are they just signing a contract that says, we're flat fee only to list on MLS. Anything after that, you're responsible for yourselves. And do people who are trying to sell their homes themselves, like, oh, it's a flat fee agent, they're only going to charge me $350. But do for sale by owners, we also call them FSBOs. Yes. Do they understand that that person is only charging you that fee just to list it? All the litigation and anything that can happen from that point forward, they're not responsible. Are they looking at the contracts? What does that contract look like?
Yeah, I really don't know. I've never been in a flat fee situation. The only time I've been in a flat fee situation was I sold my grandmother's house. But we did a normal listing agreement and everything else, and I gave that agent, I think, 2% off of that, just because it was my grandmother's. My mom. It was a whole thing. It was a whole family thing. So.
Well, and then let's talk about emotions, because you're like, oh, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. There's emotions involved in that. Yeah. What are the emotions involved between? I'm gonna get a little granular here. Everybody thinks there's a real estate agent. I just looked up. There's over 207,000 real estate agents in Maricopa County. Okay. A lot of them are terminated. A lot of them are expired. The active is actually 63,261.
There's 63,000 agents, yeah.
Right.
That's a lot of agents.
Out of that, how many are truly, quote unquote, active and know what they're talking about? So when you have all these, everyone knows an agent, for crying out loud.
Or has a cousin they haven't talked to in 2 years or whatever. Yeah.
There's so many emotions involved behind selling a property, and everyone wants to save money right now. So for sale by owner, most people do it because they're pompous. They think they have more knowledge. I'm being kind of like bratty here right now.
A little kind of. I think she's being a little bratty because of the situation I was in.
But I am, because it's like there's 63,000 people out there that are willing to help you, and find one that can help you through this. I know this is an emotional transaction, but it's going to be more emotional when you get in the end
dinged. We'll call it dinged. For whatever.
Ding.
So the thing that the seller really has to recognize is that sometimes they don't want to disclose things because they're just trying to sell a house. Like, I think everybody can relate to selling a car. Like you pull up into the parking lot, right, at the dealership, and everything that's wrong with it, but you pull up and then you're like, oh, don't say nothing, because if they give me what I want, it's on them.
May I use an example in the situation?
Yeah, exactly.
There was a for sale by owner. Horse property, and they actually ended up getting deemed not horse property. For sale by owner, they sold it as horse property. Yeah. The buyer came in with a buyer agent. They forwent their appraisal. Oops, sorry, that's my alarm for my medication. I'm not being rude. And they forego an inspection. Later on, the buyers tried to sue the seller because the horse property is no longer deemed that. Well, guess what? Who won? The seller. You know why? She sold it for sale by owner, as is. You cannot come back and sue a for sale by owner because you're buying that property as is. Yes, they ran it through title, but title doesn't always have. So we have a lot of things that go through title, right? We can tell clouds on title. Clouds would be like mechanics liens. Let's say you got a new air conditioning and you're like, I don't feel like calling them because they were dicks, and you decide not to pay them. Well, that they can put a judgment against you. An encumbrance, let's say, or an encroachment. Your neighbor is encroaching on. I mean, there's so many different things. That's why you have to have a title company, and we will actually help you out with a for sale buyer owner contract if there's not two agents involved. We can read through it. We cannot guarantee anything. Nothing. But we can run a report and figure out if everything's okay. Yeah. But at the end of the day, let's say you're buying a property and they're owned by John Doe and Jane Smith, and they sell it to you, but they actually are selling it through their DBA or another LLC, and you decide to go back because you're pissed that you thought you were buying a horse property. Yeah. Well, technically, the LLC owns that, and now who are you going to sue?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to consider when you don't have
so much
an agent that represents you. At least what your interests are. So if sometimes we get those rose-colored glasses and we see past our own, I guess our own bottom lines.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to buy a property with a broken foundation. But then you walk into a house and you're like, oh my God, you fall in love with it. And then all of a sudden, you know, that foundation crack is really not that bad because look, it's the right area, everything else fits in it. Or whatever. I'm just giving you an example.
No, but that's actually a perfect example. You walk in this house and you may not even know there's a foundation crack, and the seller is aware of it because he had an inspector come out to look at it. But you waived inspections. Guess what? You cannot go after him for that because you waived inspections. That is why you need somebody to represent you.
Yeah, in any way, in any capacity. I mean, even if it means paying them out of pocket. I mean, there is a benefit to it. I think people tend to focus in on the cost situation of that. But the longer term aspects, there's a greater cost to it.
Well, right. So now you're going to hire a real estate attorney to go through this whole thing. You're going to have a litigation. It's going to be this long-winded situation. And at the end of the day, I'm not even sure it's worth it. So you could hire out of the 63,000 real estate agents, one, you have a cousin, a sister, a brother, and somebody in-law that can just be your advocate to say, hey, let's pay the $400 for the inspection to ensure that you're not going to be down the road a year or 2 years from now and have to turn around and pay an attorney 3 times as much for that. I mean, I'm not opposed to for sale by owner. I'm actually like, I would love to buy a property for sale by owner. I would love to buy one. We have a contract. But I will tell you, if you're going to do it, if you have a buddy or a best friend that is an air conditioning, electrical contractor, you tell them, I will buy this from you as for sale by owner. I will forgo my inspection as long as I can bring in my own people and have those trusted people as well, because this industry is about relationships, right? Yeah. So if Robert knew that you needed, let's say hypothetically, you needed to buy a property and you didn't have a lot of equity, but you needed, his fee would be 3%. But you needed the extra $15,000. Maybe Robert would do a flat fee, not as a flat fee agent that you see advertised online. They're like, oh, this sounds like a great idea. Maybe he's doing it as a friend.
I think the thing to take away from that, you know, as you're out there and you're negotiating between agents and as you're considering possibly selling your house, that you can negotiate your fee with your agent. You know, and there's been plenty of times where I forgo because of a situation, or, you know, I have a friend or somebody that's been a previous client where I will reduce the amount of commission. I don't suggest reducing the buyer's commission because there are certain agents out there that will sway their clients away from your property, and they may accentuate things that really aren't a big deal to them because of the commission that they get on it, which is unfortunate. But we started this whole conversation because of an experience I had Friday.
Okay, I do want to talk about that.
So Friday I came across a for sale by owner.
You were the buying agent.
I was the buyer's agent, and this person was selling his home. He was the owner that showed up. I don't want to show the address, and I don't want any problems. But I did want to talk about the circumstance, and so I will actually take you through a comp because that's really what I wanted to show you guys.
So that's it.
And so normally when I do comps, I do what I call quick comps. There's comprehensive ones, which is the CMA or a market analysis report.
At CMA.
So it's a comprehensive market analysis.
Right.
Or comparable market analysis, whatever you want to put.
Real estate agents have to pay for this specific data. So once you become a real estate agent, it's not like they're just like, here you go, you have your driver's license now. No, they actually have to pay extra for all the ability to pull all this data, just like title companies do too. Yeah. So Robert pays for this data and is able to calculate and show whomever is asking.
Yeah, and anybody can pull this data, and you can actually do it on Zillow too. It's just a little bit more challenging to do that. I'll explain why. Okay. You can get the information.
Take the camera off me.
Oh, am I taking it off of you?
Take it off me.
Why are you taking a back seat?
I'm going to take a back seat to this,
boy.
because this is really important.
So I will take you through a comp. So the house that I have listed, I won't show you I won't show you the address on here, but the home itself. I'm going to go to my whiteboard. This is the first time we're using the whiteboard.
I'm super stoked.
So the house that we looked at, it was at let me see, 500. Never mind my childish chicken scratch. It was on market for 500,000 or 570,000. It was approximately, or what we were reported was 1,463 square feet. So that's
really your handwriting.
Well, it's a combination.
Let me write it as you say it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm dead serious.
Okay, you could try. Do better than that.
I'm a very good handwriter.
Here.
All right, I got this. Okay, next.
Okay, so well, they're not going to see what I do.
No,
okay,
I'm going to do it right now.
So normally when I see square footage like this, I go and do comparables. And when an appraiser, and I have to think in the mind of an appraiser. An appraiser is way different than what I believe you can get on market. But I do have to consider what an appraiser would look at. And through all the classes and the appraisers that I have talked to, this is the kind of line that I follow. So what you're going to end up doing is you can go, like I said, to Zillow. Or other whatever media site you need to go to. I'm going to go ahead and get off that screen real quick. So I'm going to move Ashley.
Move me out of the way.
I'm going to move myself out of the way. So on the ARM list, this is again that service that Ashley was talking about me paying. I went ahead and looked at closed listings, close of escrow within the last 6 months, because you want as recent as possible. You don't want something from a year ago, because a year ago is way different than it is today. So you want, recent sales. I take a standard deviation between 80% to 120% of the square footage in the home. In this case, we have 1,463 square feet. Okay. So if you do the math, the 80% value is 1170 and the 120% value is 1756. So I'm looking for houses within that range in square footage. And so what I want to do, because this particular home doesn't have a pool, and a pool tends to be one of the bigger expenses or bigger items in a sale of a home.
My screen's not on there. You can't see me writing.
I know. We'll get back to your screen. So I want to exclude, and I already tried to. So if I do none here, if I exclude homes with pools, I'm only left with one. So unfortunately, I have to include pools. And normally pools at this price range, at the 570 price range, are going to be roughly about $30,000 in comparable value. Roughly. Depends on the pool, depends on if you have a spa, depends if you have the big water feature, all those things. So I'm going to pull those comps. And what I'm given are results 9, and I'm going to pick 7 that come straight from that subdivision.
How many do you typically choose?
I try to take like 5.
5, okay.
The more you have, the better. But
top 5 within half a mile or 1 mile.
As close to the property as possible. So you can pull from like 2 miles away, but the further you go, the less reliable the data is.
Really same community.
Yeah. So in this case, I pulled 7 from that subdivision. 9 came up, but 7 within that subdivision. And so you can see the range is from $399,900, so $400,000, all the way to $530,000. That's your range. So what you're looking at is an average of that range. So you basically add up the top one, number 1, all the way up to number 7, divided by 7, and then you're left with, if you could write this down, Ms. Miller?
Yes, writing.
Let's go back to your screen. So she's wrote a lot, actually.
I know, take a little note.
So no pool. So we're looking at an average of 476,700.
476,700. So what we did was we took
get your face out of here.
the square footage.
Yep. Keep going.
consider no pool. Top within a half a mile to a mile, preferably the same subdivision.
Preferably, I mean, as close as you can as
sub.
possible. The weight of that comp will either decrease or increase depending on how close it is to the subject property.
What about what the house looks like inside? So this is another thing I wanted to bring up.
We're getting there.
Okie dokie.
We're getting there. Okay. So I won't include that. So there is a reason to this, and it could take a whole other episode to kind of explain what the comps are. I'm just doing it quickly so that we have a frame of reference. So what you end up doing is taking that average. So you have 476,700 as an average in that subdivision.
Divide.
And then you want to look at, I'm going to go back to the other screen, these numbers over here. See these numbers right on this? This is the sold dollar per square foot. So I'm going to add all these numbers up here, 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 here. Add them up and divide them by 7, and you get an average of $322.59.
What was it?
$322.59.
Okay.
So
that's now take that.
That's your average.
Multiply it times the square footage.
That is your average dollar per square foot in the area. So if you add, we're moving.
So are these pool or no pool?
These are all pool, actually.
Ooh, but this property has no pool.
The subject property, the one that we're going to make an offer on, has no pool.
That we're going to be writing about. Okay.
Yes. So I'm going to be brief and kind of more poignant, but as you take that $322 average dollar per square foot, you multiply it by the subject property square foot, you get $471,949. So $471,000.
So now, how much is a pool worth?
It's worth between in this area, it'd probably be more in the 40,000, but to be safe, I'd say 35.
Okay, 35. So now we have to subtract that, right?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, but I'm leaving it in there, just for.
Well, I mean, a pool is important to us.
Correct. But this subject property that we're going to make an offer on doesn't have a pool. So, Miss Ashley, with your realtor skills, how much would you offer this home? They want $570.
$430.
Your average,
$435. Honestly, $435. I don't care if it's an Ahwatukee. I don't care what neighborhood it is, if it's gated or not. I want a freaking pool.
Where's your comps again? So we have.
Honestly, like what is the comp? Go to no pool. Go back to the one that has no pool.
Let's go back.
I mean, this is the only one that's left that has no pool. Because if you think about it, materials have gone up. If I were to add a pool to my backyard right now, 35 is low. That's giving me a hole in the ground with some water.
So the one with a pool or without a pool sold, and you can pull up the details. I guess I won't go all the way to the bottom, but
422 when it sell?
So 422. This was in May, or I'm sorry, April.
Just recently.
April 5th.
So what did I say?
So and that sold for cash at 422.
So and the cash thing was kind of cool because they're saving themselves a few dollars, so they could actually use their cash to buy a pool or install. I guess a proper word. There is no chance on God's greenest earth, and yes, I'm a religious woman, that I would pay that amount of dollar with a property where there's no pool and it's showing 422 in the same community in less than a half a mile for 1,463 square feet for 570. I'm sorry, there's not.
So the offer that we ended up making, long story short, the offer we made was $500,000.
That's way overpriced.
Absolutely. And I have to think in terms of will it appraise at that price? And is there anything justifiable in the area that it can help the seller justify that, even the 500 offer? I believe with some of the upgrades, I could push in here and there. But yeah, I would be challenged with getting an appraisal at that price.
So can we go to
at least for my buyer?
So here's my challenge. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So great. So now we have this. So
we're starting over again.
500,000, right?
Offer, yes.
Offer. Okay. No pool. What if the appraisal comes in at the same thing I said before?
I would say 475 is
475. Call it 480. Okay.
Yeah.
They're offering $20,000 more. Okay.
Correct.
They're still going to be upside down.
Yep.
Technically, based on our last screen, which I don't know how to use your iPad, but they're going to be upside down.
Either.
Why would this be advantageous? And they're waiving the appraisal. So why would
they didn't waive the appraisal. This is a VA loan that we're offering. So we didn't waive the appraisal.
But a VA loan has to have an appraisal. Correct.
And so that's the thing I have to keep in mind when we make our offer, that, is it going to appraise? Even if we offered $1 million, it still only appraises.
It only appraises what it appraises for. And VA will give up to 110%. So they will actually finance up to they will up to 110% of it. But do you really want to pay 100 plus another 10% for something that you're going to have to add a pool to? You're waiving your inspection. Maybe the air conditioning fails. Like, the whole point is when you're purchasing a property for sale by owner, you need to be very cognizant.
There's a lot
who's on your team.
There's a lot to be considered. In that particular home, they upgraded the flooring. I believe they did some bathroom upgrades, but the kitchen was the original cabinets. They just painted them white, so it looked good in photos. They got new appliances, but the biggest aggravating things in that, as far as that would push up the price, is the flooring and the appliances. And really, if you talk to an appraiser, those aren't really the biggest things that will push the price point of a house. Like a rehabbed kitchen, rehabbed bathrooms, installation of a pool, big ticket items that would contribute to a higher appraised amount. This house did not have. So I really had to consider that. And I got yelled at. So I'm not going to show you the email because we're running out of time.
She read the email. And I'm not a real estate agent, thank goodness.
Oh boy.
My biggest things being entitled is when you guys waive, if you're going to buy, I shouldn't say that. If you are a buyer who is purchasing it for sale by owner and you are considering waiving certain things, like waiving the appraisal, waiving the inspection, I'm going to tell you you're batshit crazy.
Well, and this is an environment where things get emotional, and you see a house on market that presents really nice. And again, I don't want to show the pictures because I don't really want to. That person's still selling the house, and I don't want any kind of negative response to that. But they got angry and frustrated because they felt I undervalued their house.
Well, they had an emotional attachment to it.
Correct.
So when you are selling a house for sale by owner, you need to eliminate the emotional attachment to it. You need to understand, and this is why real estate agents have access to what type of flooring do you have, what type of countertops do you have. Do you have granite? Do you have corian? Do you have quartz? Do you have laminate? Do you have this? Like, what type of fixtures do you have? These are very important things. And obviously your air conditioning issues. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. And your roof. And I mean, there's so many things that are involved in this. So if you were a purchaser from a for sale by owner, I caution you. Unless you just have money that you're okay with just blowing and spending.
Or if you're out of state.
Or if you're out of state and you just don't know any better. Like, jinx. But it is true. And if you were a seller, please do not demise real estate agents. I
got a really bad email on that
They pay. Not only do they study, they work on this, and they pay a lot of money to keep up with the stats and what's going on. And they have access. Like Zillow, first of all, when people are like, I have access, I have Google. Okay, Zillow, Realtor.com, what are the other garbage ones? Open Door, OfferUp. Do you actually think they're being realistic? Hell no. Because they'll offer you something. And once they do, they're like, send us pictures. Like, yeah, just kidding. That $450 is now $420 because you have corian countertops and not granite. Enough is enough. Stop, sugarcoating or thinking your property is better than what it is. And I'm sure your property is great. You have the emotional attachment. Maybe your child was born there. Maybe it was your grandparents' house. At the end of the day, nobody gives a shit. It's what it's worth. 1 + 1 always equals 2. Consult a real estate agent. And even your favorite agent like Robert. If you came to Robert and said, hey, I can afford to pay you the 3%, but could I pay a consulting fee?
Yeah, I mean,
Robert has the capability of paying you a consulting fee. So we're not just dotting your I's and crossing your T's. The other people are dotting your T's and crossing your I's. You need somebody like Robert who is going to do the right thing. And this is not me touting him, but I've seen so many people. Can we have a beep there? Because I had so many. I was trying to find the right word, but every word in my head was just a bad word.
Okay, we get it though.
Just find a consultant, and then, when you are promoting your property, you need to obviously figure out the price. You need to do photos. How are you going to promote it? How are you going to negotiate. Negotiation is huge.
Well, and I will deviate a little bit from that in the fact that just reach out to an agent, and you'll find there's obviously 30,000 of us out there.
20. There's more.
Yeah, whatever. There are a lot of them, and so a lot of them will do a market analysis for you for free. I mean, that's kind of the whole pitch. It's
Ask your buddy for a CMA.
Yeah, CMA, comparative market analysis, or comp. Just ask them for it. But I think if you are dead set on being a for sale by owner and want to take on the responsibility as well as the aggravation, because it is aggravating. There's been many times where I'm listing a house that's very aggravating, but you process through that and you help the seller get through all those things. But if you're headstrong on listing your own house, get the information, but be honest with the agent.
Yeah.
Just be honest. Say, hey, you know what? I am reaching out to you. I saw your number in the phone book or whatever it is now, Google. I dated myself.
I thought we used those for firewood.
I don't even know if they send them out anymore. But no, I found your name and I want to reach out to you. I want to get a market analysis for my home. I'm contacting other agents as well as I'm going to be a FSBO. I'm going to sell it myself. I just want the information if you can do it. They will probably annoy the crap out of you because you get put on their little email streams and they'll call you like, hey, can I sell it? But I think in the forefront, if you're honest with the agent, they'll do a sale analysis for you for free. And get 3 of them, and you can compare each one, compare each knowledge, compare the years. Zillow has enough reviews and shows you how many houses somebody sells. There's information about each agent. So, obviously you'd want probably a more experienced one if you question the values that they're doing. But obviously get as much information as you can and be honest with the agent saying, hey, I'm going to do this for sale by owner. I would like the information if you can help me. And for the agent out there could be an opportunity later on, because I will tell you, more often than not, a seller does get frustrated and they get upset about having to sell it themselves and having to deal with other agents.
Well, one of the cool things with being in title, and I don't talk about being in title a lot, although I've been in title for a very long time. If you are going to be for sale by owner, and I respect it 100%, like you're saving a buttload of money, we actually provide what's called a seller guide, and it has verbiage in it. So when, let's say hypothetically, you have somebody, an agent, a buyer agent come in and you're like, oh, what the crap is that word? You can look through a seller guide. We provide it as a physical, like printable, tangible item, and we also provide it online. As well as we can pull a title report, meaning you can come in to us and say, hey, I'm selling my house for sale by owner. We'll do a printable for you. We'll actually do a property profile book. We'll print it. So then when you have consumers come in, whether represented by an agent or not, you'll have this fancy book and you'll look pretty official. It's really cool. And you'll also know and be able to confirm and assure that the buyer coming in, that you don't have a cloud on title. You don't have an encumbrance. You don't have an encroachment. There's so many things. And sometimes you may not even know. Sometimes sellers don't even realize that they have a judgment on their, there was a property down the street that we are looking at right now, and he's like, I think I might have something on my, he's an older guy, on my house. Yeah, he does. Then going to say work and title, and I was able to pull that. Now, if you would have been the buyer who was buying this property, you would not have known, which has delayed us a bit on this property because we have to clear that. Now, imagine if we would have bought this property and not have known. It's going to be a pickle for us. So honesty is the best policy. Like integrity is the best policy. Having an agent on your side is phenomenal. And so emotions are high.
And I've done comparative market analysis, CMA reports for people knowing that they may be doing it themselves or maybe going to another agent. I am not like that. I'm here to help, and I will help in whatever way, as long as you're honest with me. I will follow up and I will connect with you if you're looking at selling. But at the same time, it's just, if you're honest, I can take it. I mean, we're all adults. We can
integrity is huge. So I feel like if you were to go to Robert and you're like, hey, pull comps on this, and all of a sudden you have Formica and they have granite, and you're like, yeah, don't get granite, but buy quartz. Like you're in my opinion, you would give them advice on how to capitalize on the most dollar amount and still charge them that quote unquote flat fee, but you are not a flat fee agent because you deserve more than that, but you're willing to do that for people. Yeah. And you have to find that person.
And negotiate your fee. Negotiate if you don't like what the agent has to offer, just negotiate. It's okay, and if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for him. I have walked away from situations where I didn't feel it was worth my time and attention.
Yeah, and this one,
and those are tough.
That one's like it's kind of making me like, as we're talking about this, like I'm like, I want to call them, be like, don't be mean to my friend Robert.
Like my mom.
No, I'm like momming. Like I am in a mom mode right now because the email back was so rude. So if you are a for sale by owner and you do get a contract from an agent, from the buyer's agent, don't be mean to them.
And you know what? I talking to you and showing you that email and responding that way, my natural first knee-jerk reaction was to kind of yell back and do all that.
Well, that's reactive versus responding.
And I'm human too, and I was slightly affected, but I took a step back and realized, you know what? They have some challenges, and there's probably some things going on in their life that hopefully they can figure it out. And I was going to reach out and say, hey, can I help you? But I also kind of judge the situation as that they're probably not going to listen to anything I say anyway. They're just projecting.
Or they may. So one of a few things I've learned is never to react, always respond. Don't delay a response, but take a hot minute to truly read through each line that they're saying.
There was a lot in that email.
Yeah, there was a lot. Imagine that everyone is in their own situation, have integrity, and at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, it's not meant to be, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
And that's okay. But let's just really try to, educate, research, what are the things I wrote down? So we need get our emotions under check.
Emotions, yes.
Well, first of all, legalities. Legalities is freaking huge.
Yeah.
Because you can F yourself. I don't care how emotionally you're involved in a property. You're going to be way more emotionally involved once the legalities get involved.
Once you're in court with
legality, so title company would be first.
Yeah.
Not to say that I'm before Robert, but we kind of go hand in hand when it comes to a property. So legalities is important. The emotional situation between buying and selling, the negotiation skills. What's that going to cost you? What's that going to look like? And then who's going to advertise and promote it for you? I mean, there's so many things that Robert and I do that I truly think people don't honestly understand. Will you get lucky? You put your dollar store sale in your front yard, like for sale by owner, and somebody buys it? Fine. Great.
And the funny thing is, I would still help. Like if he reached out today and he's like, hey, I got a contract. Can you help me review it? I'm like,
I pull free prelims all the time, and I get paid shit for it.
I know.
And they're like, "Oh, we used we used First American," or I'm like, "Dude, you wouldn't even know what was going on with that property without me. Like, how rude."
Yeah, but it happens a lot, and it's unfortunate, but that's okay. We're here to help and continue to help.
I'm being snarky because once you brought up that email, it heated me. It did heat me.
She brought out her inner Tupac. That's why she brought her shirts.
No, I know. I'm a little bit of Tupac, a little bit of Marilyn, but that was a very hurtful email.
I know, and that's the thing. I know not to respond, and I probably should just say, hey, good luck, thank you for the opportunity, something quaint and to the point, But I think the biggest thing with any house selling, because it really is like a dream. You're selling a past dream. There was something that brought you to that point, that brought you to that home. There was something there that was very, very prevailing in your life. Typically, it's a marriage that kind of split up, or you're getting elderly and you can't live there anymore. There's so many reasons why you sell, and there's such an emotional attachment. That's where an agent that you're interviewing or having a discussion with really comes into play, and that's really what I think people should focus in on, is how they're going to help you emotionally get through this. Because I would say that is worth more of the money than anything else. Because anybody can list the house on the MLS, anybody can take photos, and I take it back.
No, that's not true.
The photos thing. If you go phone camera photos, get rid of that person. That's just super cheap. And I know you can do it in this market, but that's just reflective of the business that you're running. And that one part bothers me though.
You know what that email reminded me of when I was reading it?
Oh.
They've had the property in Ahwatukee, which is such a family town. It reminds me of like the Stepford Wives. Okay, are we out of time?
Like over 10 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. The Stepford Wives, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, we're getting divorced. I need to sell it for as much as possible so I can pay her off more." And like he's so emotionally involved. And he's like, "We can get more of that." He's not doing his proper research because he doesn't want to use an agent because now he's going to lose more money on it. And like, I felt like that email, I felt like I could read, like, again, studying sociology and psychology in college.
Yeah.
Like, I read that person like the back of my hand. I almost feel like I could go to his door and be like, do you need a therapist? But really, I'm just like a title rep and a mom. So we have to understand where they're coming from and what's happening with them. So if you are in a uber emotional situation where you are going through some sort of battle, whether you have to take out equity or your parents or divorce or anything like that, not saying Robert loves that, but there are times when you can reach out to an agent and have, like, again, I'm reiterating, maybe a consultation fee. Like, can you actually pull a CMA? Can you pull reports? Because Zillow is not your friend, my friends. They're, well, just Google that shit. Like, honestly, like,
there is a monetary interest there from Zillow.
There is, and there's always a monetary interest in everything. We all have to pay our family. Why do you think for sale by owners are charging probably $50,000 more than what they should? There's some sort of interest in something. Yep. But at the end of the day, we all need to, like, have a freaking reality check.
At times, yes, and when I made that offer, I felt bad that we did, knowing that we were offering $70,000 below asking price. But it was not fair to the buyers, and it wasn't fair to the house actually. But we made it because the buyers felt comfortable to make it, and so they took the information in, and they felt inclined to make that offer. We didn't win it; it wasn't negotiated. It was a dead deal, basically DOA on arrival, which is okay, you know.
But comfortability. That's, you know what? Everything I just said in a whole mouthful, you said in one word.
Oh, what did I say?
Comfortability.
What did I say?
No, that's it. End of story. We can mic drop it. Done.
All right, good. So every Monday here, Monday Market 15, Ashley Miller, Great American Title, Rob Morales, RCO Network, bringing you the information about the Phoenix housing market. We did have stats, but we're grossly over time. So tune in next week, and we'll bring you the most updated stats. Demand is coming back. So if you come back next week, we will talk about the demand market and potentially more inventory coming on. Are you excited?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, am I excited? Yes.
She's wearing Tupac. Of course she's excited. All right, so we'll see you guys next week, next Monday, here, Monday Market 15.
We'll see you.